This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, in the last session, we were talking about baseline configuration for a new company code in S4HANA 2021. We created only one step yesterday, which is only the company, correct? We are about to create a company code. We just created one company. We saved our company in this TR. We were talking about Samsung India Private Limited as company and Samsung India Private Limited as our company code, which we are implementing for India country. Let's do the remaining settings now. Let me go to the first transaction code, which is OX15. Let's open OX15. So let's select which one we have created yesterday. So we have created SSGR as our company, Samsung group of companies. So whatever you are creating, you need to make sure we will be updating that somewhere in our Excel sheet. This group we are creating as SSGR. So this is your company that we have created. Next one, let us create a company code. Now to create a company code, you must know the information like this. Registered name in your India, registered address, all the other information related to your organization. According to register of companies, whatever the information that is registered, that CR copy or company registration copy you are going to receive, or the complete information from it will be given to us by the client. This information you are going to create as your company code. Remember, based on the number of registrations that you have done at the country according to Indian Companies Act or according to Register of Companies, you are going to decide number of company codes. It is not that just like that you will create as many company codes as you want. It is purely dependent on the registration that is done according to Companies Act. Let's say currently there is only one legal entity which is registered. Let us try to bring this legal entity into SAP. When you bring this legal entity into SAP, you need to ensure what is the 4-digit alphanumeric code or numeric code that you are going to create for your company code. Let's say we have assumed SSGR for company. When you are creating a company code, you can create any different logic for identifying your company codes. You can either go ahead with pure numeric sequences like 1000, 2000, 3000, or you can also go ahead with alphanumeric sequence. So it depends on your client how they want to create their company codes. There is no hard rule as such. In this way you have to create a company, or in this way you have to create a company code, but whatever the approach you are following must be logical, must be meaningful. Let's assume that we are going to create company code based on a logic. SS will represent a Samsung, followed by 2-digit code which represents your country. If you are implementing Samsung India, let us take SSIN, which will represent Samsung India. This is what we are assuming as a logic to create a company code. But any 4 digits that you are creating, make sure you are just like that, not creating the 4 digit. You have a logic, you know the reason why you are creating like this. This is important point. Once you understand that you are going to create SSIN, then let's get into SAP and get back to the transaction code for your company code. To create a company code, T code is OX02. Let's go to OX02. Just it's a little slow. Some issue with my network only. I don't know, but with my network, this is frequently getting disconnected. Okay, it has come up now. Now, before you create a company code, make sure whatever the code that you are going to create is not available in the system. If it is already available, you cannot create the same code. Before we create, let's go to position. Let me find SSIN if this is already there or somebody created. We did not find this entry, which means nobody had created this company code earlier. To add this, let's click on new entries and put your 4-digit alphanumeric code for your company code, which is SSIN. SSIN. Next one, company name. This is exactly as per the legal registered name, including spelling mistakes, including must be thoroughly checked before you put this name, because this is the legal name which will be printed on all the official documents on all the letterheads that you are going to print from the system. Whatever the name address that you are going to fill up here, this will get printed on your all official documentation which is generated from the system. If there is any spelling mistakes, capital letter, small letter, you have to be very careful here. And don't assume anything that if your client had given small l here, make sure you check with them that if it is okay. Only then you put this. Let's say this is what we are putting, Samsung India Private Limited. Next one, city, I'll say Hyderabad. As per the registered address, you'll have to put. Country is your India. Currency is INR. And language that we want to use is English. Input this information. Your company code is registered in Hyderabad, registered in India. Your country is using INR as company code currency, and you are going to maintain all the records in your company code in English language. Once you put this information, hit enter on the keyboard, and then you will have to click on this icon, which is your company code address. Click on this, you get a pop-up. On this, input the other information, click on company, write the clear name again, Samsung India Private Limited. Search term, I'll put company code SSIN. Street, I'll put anything, let's say house number 80. This is any one postal code. Hyderabad, region is India. This is 13, not 13. So this drop down list is not coming because of my old version. So let me select one. If there is anything, no. If I select T, I'll select TG. Now click on save. When you click on save, this is giving a pop-up showing you the address that you have given. Make sure the address that you have given is correct and click on continue. Now you need to ensure all the settings that you are going to create for your baseline configuration will be stored in the same TR. Click on OK. Now data is saved. Now what we did, we created a company, we created the company code. Next one is to assign company code to company in the transaction code OX16. Let's go to OX16. If you go to OX16, you'll have to go to position. Remember, on any assignment screen, most of the times there will be no new entries screen. You are going to assign two existing entries. Go to position. You will get a pop-up. Check what information it is asking. It is asking you to input company code. You know that your company code that we have just created is SSIN, Samsung India SSIN. Select SSIN, click on continue. Then you will get this company code here. If you check this against company code, there is no company currently. Company is blank because we have not assigned this yet. You need to assign this company under a company. You need to assign this company code to a company. We are creating this as Samsung India Private Limited under Samsung Group of Companies. For Samsung Group of Companies, we have created SSGR. Right? SSGR is what we have created. Select this. Now you are getting a message at the bottom which talks about company currency differs from company code currency. This is just a warning message. Ignore it, because for company we have used dollar, for company code we have used INR. Obviously these two currencies are different. That is what system is talking about. Company level you are going to maintain group currency. Company code level you are going to maintain local currency. Hit enter so that the warning can be ignored and proceed to save this. Enter. Proceed to save. Now this information has been saved. Now your initial setup is completed. You created a company, you created a company code, you have assigned your company code to company. Once this setting is done, then you'll have to create the actual configurations from chart of account onwards. After defining these settings, next one is your chart of account. In the chart of account, you have four settings. First one is edit chart of account list, for which OB13 is the transaction code. Slowly try to memorize these transaction codes, but do not by heart. Just try to look at the T code. If you remember or you do not remember, ignore it. Just look at it and then leave it. Automatically, these things will get registered on your mind by way of looking into it, by way of practicing several times, but do not by heart them. OB13. This is your list of all chart of accounts in your system. Now remember one point, whenever you are going to create any new company code, first thing you are going to think about your company. Now we are creating Samsung India Private Limited, but when you are creating all the settings, you need to think from the business point of view, not from a particular company code point of view. If you see Samsung point of view, Samsung is operating in multiple countries. Let's say Samsung is doing their business in 100 countries. Samsung is doing business in 100 countries. In every country, it is a Samsung only. Right? It is headquartered maybe in South Korea somewhere. Now there is only one owner for Samsung. He wants to monitor all his financial transactions across all the countries. So according to the business point of view, according to the shareholder point of view, according to the owner point of view, it is one company which they are operating in multiple countries. Now when you see it from a top point of view, from a group point of view, everything is same for you. It's all your business. Now when it is all your business, you want to perform the financial statements analysis, you want to monitor the profitability for each and every company code, which you are going to do at company code level. But for you to perform the overall performance, for you to find out the overall profit loss of your organization, you need to find out group reporting. You need to prepare group reporting to find out whether your overall profit is satisfactory or not. In order to do this, you need to ensure same chart of account is used across all your company codes. This is one of the mandatory requirement that you need to remember while creating chart of account. Same chart of account is used for all your company codes. Okay, one client, multiple company codes, one chart of account. If you are talking about Samsung India Private Limited, Samsung India Private Limited is operating in India. If you are talking about Samsung Singapore, Samsung Singapore is operating in Singapore. Likewise, Samsung Malaysia, Samsung Dubai, any other country. But end of the day, this is your Samsung. For Samsung, all your company codes, you need to ensure single chart of account is used. Do not create a separate chart of account for each company code if you are practicing Samsung related company codes. Even if you practice multiple company codes, make sure for one client there is one chart of account only. Clear? So click on new entries. Whenever you are creating a chart of account, this is clearly understood that one chart of account is used for multiple company codes. When it is the fact, when this is the reality, do not create your chart of account with your company code identification. Currently, we have created a company code SSIN. If I am creating my chart of account with SSIN, I am doing a mistake. What I am doing is wrong here. Because this way we are not going to create any chart of account code in any project. because you're not representing a company code when you're talking about chart of account, because your chart of account is common for all your company codes. If my chart of account is representing any one company code, let's say SSIN, by looking at this, I assumed SSIN is a company code, SSIN is a chart of account also. If I'll come across another company code SSSG, let's say Samsung Singapore, now I'll be under an impression that for SSSG company code, SSSG will be the chart of account. But my thinking is wrong, because in system you have set up SSIN as company as chart of account for all the company codes. Your approach is correct, but the naming convention that we are using is wrong. Right? So in such cases, you need to create a different naming convention which is commonly applicable for all the company codes. In such cases, let us create SSGR, which means Samsung Group. Samsung Group as what we are thinking for the complete company codes representation. All your company codes are part of a Samsung Group. For Samsung Group, you have created a company with SSGR. This is what we are creating now. Let's put Samsung chart of accounts. Now, when you are creating chart of accounts, you need to keep in your mind there are three types of chart of accounts. We have three types of chart of accounts. One is your operating chart of account. Let me put here. One is operating, two is country, three is group. Okay, you have three types of chart of account: operating chart of account, country chart of account, group chart of account. Out of these three chart of accounts, one chart of account is mandatory for every company code. That is your operating chart of account. Right? All these three chart of accounts are created on the same screen. When you're creating a chart of account, whether it is operating, whether it is group, whether it is country, screen will remain the same, setting will remain the same. The change that you are going to bring here is only the description and the code. Code is different, description is different. Otherwise, the way you create operating, group, country is exactly the same. So when you're creating a chart of account, make sure your chart of account contains the description. Samsung operating chart of account. Okay, Samsung operating chart of accounts. Next one, make sure the maintenance language. This maintenance language represents in which language you are going to maintain the chart of account, which means the name of your GL accounts. Now we assumed that this chart of account is common for all your company codes. When you're talking about all your company codes, you will be having a company codes in different countries. In some countries, English will be the official language. In some countries, English is not official language. For example, if you take China, Russia, Indonesia, certain countries, they don't use English as the official language. They use their local language as the official language, which means for them, the SAP completely is displayed in their local language. Now they may be aware of the English, they may not be aware of English. Now they don't want to see the GL descriptions in English language. Instead, they want to see the GL description in their local language. But for you, this is the operating chart of account, which is common for all your company codes. Now the common language for all the countries is your English. So that is why you are going to maintain your chart of account always as English. Language will be English. Press enter. Next one, you need to mention length of GL account number. We assumed chart of account is all about list of GL accounts. Every GL account in SAP is represented by a numeric number. Every GL account in SAP is represented by a numeric number. What numeric number is what is you want to create, and what will be the length of it? Maximum length of a particular GL account can be up to 10 digits, which means you can create minimum 1 digit GL account number, maximum 10 digit GL account number. But this number is what you need to freeze at the beginning itself. Later on, we are not supposed to change the GL account number. Let's say if I want to go ahead with 6 digit number, all my GL accounts must have 6 digits. No exception for this. You must create with a 6 digit. Normally you will be creating 8 digits or 10 digits in current implementations. Earlier we used to create GL accounts with 6 digits, but currently very rare we use a 6 digit. Majorly we will be using either 8 digit or 10 digit. Let's proceed with 8 digit. Hit enter. Make sure there are no error messages. After this you need to select this next option called consolidation. If you are using group chart of account, then you will be using a consolidation. If you are not using a group chart of account, no point of this consolidation. So we are not going to use this consolidation group chart of account. We are not going to block this chart of account. If you block the chart of account, no data entry is posted in your company code, in all the company codes, not in one company code, because all your GL accounts in all your company codes are represented by chart of account. If the chart of account itself is blocked, by default all the company code transactions are blocked. So we are not going to block this. In short, you are going to input only 4 parameters: chart of account, description, language, length. Press enter, click on save. Okay, now your chart of account has been created. Once the chart of account is created, next thing you need to do the assignment. But before we do the assignment, you need to remember 2 points. So let me write configuration levels. We will be doing a configuration at different levels. Now point number 1, you will be configuring at client level. Point number 2, you will be configuring at company code level. Point number 3, you will be configuring at country level. Okay, you have to remember at what level we are doing a particular setting. Is this a client level setting? Is this a company code level setting, or country level setting? Now, how you are going to understand whether it is client level setting, company code level setting, country level setting? If you are talking about client level setting, wherever you are maintaining a setting, for example, you are maintaining this chart of account. While creating this chart of account, do you find anywhere company code field? There is no field called company code. You are able to see chart of account, description, language, length, group chart of account, but there is no field called company code in this. If you find any setting without company code option, that is more or less your client level setting. Any setting that you are defining at client level can be used for any company code. Okay, any setting that you are creating at client level will be used for any company code based on one condition, that is your assignment. If you want to use this chart of account for your company code, make sure you are assigning this chart of account to your company code. That is why on your configuration you will find a specific setting called assign company code to chart of account. You are doing assign chart of account to company code because this is a client level setting. Any client level setting will be used to your company code by way of assignment. To do the assignment, T code is OB62. Let's come back from this screen and let's open OB62. Go to OB62. To do the assignment, we assumed there will be no new entries option. Click on position. It is asking you to input company code. You need to remember SSIN, which means whenever you are practicing a company code, make sure all these naming conventions will be registered on your mind. Because tomorrow when you are working for any project, when you are working for any company, all this your company codes, all the relevant information you must remember, you must memorize. It is not that I forgot what is the company code, I forgot what is fiscal year variant, does not look good when you are working. You must remember all those points. So right from the beginning, make that as a habit. So to make that as a habit, you are not supposed to create your configuration left and right. Keep a company in your mind. Accordingly, if you are practicing, things will get registered in your mind in a sequential order. In the same order, you are going to remember when you are working in any project entire your career. Now I'll put company code SSIN. Against this company code SSIN, there are two assignment fields. One is chart of account, second one is also alternative chart of account. In short, first one is your operating chart of account, second one is your country specific chart of account. First one is your operating chart of account, second one is your country specific chart of account, but we assumed there are three chart of accounts. Now you have seen two chart of accounts can be directly assigned at company code level. To your company code, you will be able to assign two chart of accounts directly. One is operating, the other one is country. The third one, which is your group chart of account, this group chart of account cannot be directly assigned to a company code. Instead, this group chart of account is assigned to operating chart of account. Okay, group chart of account is assigned to operating chart of account. That is why while creating the chart of account, we have seen assignment screen. If you go to OB13, if you click on new entries, you are able to find group chart of account. Group chart of account is assigned to the operating chart of account. But the remaining two chart of account, which is your operating and country chart of account, is directly assigned to your company code. Right? I'll come back from this. Let me go to the assignment screen. Whatever the chart of account we created so far is called as operating chart of account. First field is your operating chart of account. Second one is your country chart of account. Let us assign operating chart of account, which is SSGR. Press enter, click on save. So we have assigned operating chart of account to our company code. Next one is your account groups. We need to make sure the GL account groups that are needed for our company code. As of now, I am going to create only 4 account groups. In the next sessions, we will be talking in detail about account groups. Because before we talk about account groups, we will have to discuss certain basic points related to financial statements. So once we discuss that, we will create detailed account groups. As of now, to complete this setting, I am going to create only 4 account groups. Your account group creation is in OBD4. Let's go to OBD4. All your GL accounts that you are going to maintain will be managed in the account group. Whenever you are talking about account group, this is all about grouping your GL accounts. Now, this grouping of GL accounts is to be done based on your financial reporting requirements. On what basis you are preparing your financial statements? Let's say how you are going to prepare your trial balance, how you are going to prepare your P&L, how you are going to prepare your balance sheet. Based on this reporting requirement, based on your TB schedules, based on your P&L schedules, based on your balance sheet schedules, you are going to decide how many account groups are needed, on what basis you are going to define the account groups. It is not that straight away you are creating the account groups. Okay, when you are working in any project, you are going to have minimum 50 account groups, 50. So you will be having 50 plus account groups. As of now, I am creating only 4 account groups just to complete this setting. But shortly we will be discussing about account groups and we will maintain all the account groups. To create the account group, first thing is to maintain the chart of account. Our chart of account is SSGR. Copy this. We assumed we are going to create 4 account groups. Select 4 and I am going to write account group name first. Name I am going to maintain as assets. Next one, liabilities, incomes, and then expenses. I am going to create 4 account groups called as asset, liability, income, expense. Asset and liability is representing your balance sheet. Income and expense is representing your P&L. So within asset, you have different kind of assets, right? Current asset, cash, bank, stock, prepaid expenses, accounts, receivable, and so on. All these categories you will have to create as different account group. Similarly, under liabilities, capital, bank loans, short-term loans, accounts payable, outstanding expenses, likewise, you are going to have different categories Every category is created as a different account group when you are actually creating this. For now, let us only create 4 account groups broadly. Later on, we will understand in detail and then update the revised account groups. Now, how you are going to identify assets? There should be a logic to identify the asset. There should be a logic to identify liability, income, and then expense. To identify these, you are going to maintain a proper numbering sequence. Because according to us, according to system, everything is account. All these are called as GL accounts. But in GL account, for your financial reporting purpose, you are going to segregate asset, liability, income, expense. Certain accounts will go to P&L, certain accounts will go to balance sheet. Within balance sheet, you have again different formatting, different headings, side headings and all. If you know how you are going to prepare your balance sheet P&L, you are going to identify your account groups in a sequential, logical manner. For now, what we are going to do is, you are going to identify all your accounts based on the first digit. Based on first digit. I am going to write first digit as 1, 2, 3 and then 4. When I write this, I mean any GL account which is starting from 1 series, I assume this is my asset. If the GL account belongs to asset category, the GL number starts from 1. If the GL account belongs to liability, the GL number starts from 2. If the GL account belongs to income, GL number starts from 3. If GL account belongs to expenses, GL number starts from 4. This is how I am going to identify. Once I put this, next one I am going to put the account group, the identification, which is of 4-digit alphanumeric character. I am going to write for assets, let's say ASST asset. For liabilities, I am going to put LIAB. First 4 digits I am writing. Incomes, I'll take INCO. Expenses, I'll take EXPN. You can take any 4 digits of your choice. This is what I have taken. Now, from account to account, what is the account number range which will represent asset? And what is the account number range which will represent liability, income, and then expense? Before you put this, you have to recall your chart of account setting. When we created chart of account, we have defined length of GL account number. In the length of GL account number, in our chart of account setting, we have maintained 8 digits. Correct? If I go to OB13, SSGR, we have maintained length of GL account number as 8 digit. You need to ensure your account number range from account to account is maintained with 8 digit. If you are taking from one series, take 1 followed by the remaining digits with all zeros. To make it 8 digits, 7 digits are short. I am going to take 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you count, it has become 8 digits in length. Similarly, the 2 number. From 1 lakh to what number is your asset? We assumed all 1 series is your asset. So you have to take 1 digit only, first one, followed by the last digit, all 9s you are going to take. To make it 8 digits, 7 digits are short. I am going to take 9 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now this gives me the number range for my assets. Any GL account which is ranging from 1 all zeros to 1 all nines is straight away considered as asset. Similarly, liabilities. Liability is also 2 followed by all zeros, income 3 followed by all zeros, expense 4 followed by all zeros. Now range ends at the same logic. 2 followed by all nines, 3 followed by all nines, this one 4 followed by all nines. Clear? Clear? Asset, liability, income and expense. This is what you are going to create. Apart from this, you have to remember one more account group. These 4 are your basic account groups related to financial accounting. There will be one more account group related to your migration. let's say we'll put TECH. We can write technical accounts. Another account group that we need to create is TECH, which is your technical accounts. This technical accounts can either start from 8 series or start from 9 series. In most of the projects, we will be using 8 series for your technical accounts. These technical accounts are used to migrate data from your legacy system to SAP system. Okay, whenever you're talking about SAP implementation, if you're implementing SAP, this company is already using another application, another software. Data from the other software you will have to bring into SAP. This is called as your data migration. When you're doing the data migration from legacy system or the existing system to SAP, you need to use the migration accounts or technical accounts. These migration accounts or technical accounts are always 8 series. Okay, 8 series is normally used for migration or technical purpose. Same logic here also, 8 followed by all zeros and 8 followed by all lines. Clear? These are the 5 broad account groupings that we are going to create at the beginning. Let's proceed to save this. But remember, this is not the actual way of creating account groups. We will have to create detailed account groups, which is minimum 50. So we will be replacing all the account groups shortly. Now let's go back. Account groups have been created. Next one is to create retained earnings account. To create the retained earnings account, T code is OB53. Let's go to OB53. In OB53, it is asking us to input chart of account. Now you have to keep a point in your mind. Whenever you define any settings in SAP, it will not directly detect your company code. You have to manually tell the system what is your company code or for which company code you are doing the settings. For which no other option, you have to remember your company code or whatever you are practicing, that information. It is not correct every time you are opening the drop down, every time you are referring your notes, what is my company code? Then your practice is not correct. If you do not know, if you are unable to remember what you are configuring, then whatever you are configuring is not correct way. You must remember what you are configuring, because you are not configuring 10-20 company codes to get confused. Correct? We are configuring hardly 1 or 2 or maximum 3-4 company codes. And you must be in a position to remember 3-4 company codes without any confusion. Because no surprise, when you are working in a project tomorrow, if you are in support project, you may have to handle 2-3 clients parallelly. So you should not get any confusion. What is this company code? What is that company code? One client configuration performing in another client, one client report downloading from another client system should not happen. For that to happen, from now onwards, you have to make a habit of remembering the things. Okay. Let us put chart of account. Our chart of account is SSGR. Samsung Group. Put this, continue. And here it is asking about P&L statement and then account. This is your retained earnings account. Okay, this is retained earnings account, which is used for balance carry forward purpose. Normally in accounting, you are doing balance carry forward during the year end. During the year end, you are going to perform balance carry forward. When you are performing balance carry forward, you are rolling up or you are rolling over the balances from one fiscal year to the other fiscal year. Let's say currently we are in 2023 fiscal year. Once you are at 2023 closing, according to Indian Companies Act March or according to IFRS December. Whenever you are arriving at the year end, you have to roll over balances from this year to next year. When you are carry forwarding the balances, you are going to have two type of balances. You are going to have P&L balances, you are going to have balance sheet balances. Now balance carry forward is applicable for P&L accounts or for balance sheet accounts. Which account balances will be carry forwarded, P&L or balance sheet?
Balance sheet.
Only balance sheet
P&L, sir.
account. No. Balance carry forward is applicable only for the balance sheet accounts. When we are talking about balance carry forward, we are talking about taking balances from one year to the other year. Let's say if you talk about cash balances or bank balances, assuming at the year end, let us assume that Jan to December. In the month of December, in your bank account, you have some 20,000. In your bank account, in the month of December, you have 20,000. When you check your bank balance in January, will it become zero or it will still remain 20,000?
0.
In January.
20,000.
In
January
March,
20,000.
right? In December, your bank balance is 20,000 and you have not done any transaction in the month of January. You had only 20,000. You have not touched your bank balance in December. When you move on to January, do you find it 20,000 still or your 20,000 will disappear?
We will find that 20,000.
You will find it 20,000 as it is because it is a balance sheet account. All your balance sheet account balances will be carried forwarded to the next year automatically. But in case if it is a P&L account, your P&L account balances will be made zero at the end of the year. Any balance that is left in your P&L account at the end of the year will be made zero. You are not supposed to carry forward P&L balance to the next year. You should always start counting from zero for all your P&L accounts at the year beginning. Clear? So to start fresh counting from the next year for all your P&L accounts, whatever the balance that is there at the end of the year, in all your P&L accounts, you will be taking all the P&L account closing balances into a GL account called retained earnings account. Okay, any balance that is lying in your P&L account at the end of the year will be taken into retained earnings account.
अब क्या
Please go
हुआ?
on mute. Okay, any account balance which is lying in your P&L account at the end of the year
है?
will be taken into
कितने मार? ये तेल उतार दो, तेल नहीं है बिल्कुल। तेल उतारने के लिए बुलाया तूने? और क्या बोला, वो बनवानी ना किसने?
okay. Any account balance that you find at the end of the year in P&L account is carry forwarded to the retained earnings account. Now to perform that, you need to make sure that one retained earnings account is updated in your chart of account settings. That is here in OB53, you are going to declare a GL account for retained earnings account. This retained earnings account is a liability account. This retained earnings account is a liability account, which means under liabilities, you are going to have capital. For capital, you are going to normally when you perform your basic accounting, from capital in the balance sheet, you used to add profit, you used to less loss, correct? You get profit, we normally used to add the profit to the liability, profit to the capital. If you get a loss, you used to deduct the loss from the capital. Same is the logic here. But here we are not going to do any kind of adjustments manually. You will be straight away declaring a GL account. Whatever the profit, whatever the loss that you are making at the year end, system is going to automatically detect that profit loss figure. It will take that amount into a retained earnings GL account, for which you need to put P&L statement type. P&L statement type is by default X in all the systems. P&L statement type is always X, and then you need to put a retained earnings GL account. Remember, retained earnings account is always a liability account. In account group creation for liabilities, we have given two series. Now in liabilities we have given two series, but we have given only one group for liabilities. We have not given detailed account groups in liabilities. When you create a detailed account groups in liabilities, we would have created one account group called retained earnings. If we would have created a detailed group called retained earnings account, from that retained earnings account group, you have to allot one GL account number here. Since we have not done that way here, you have to allot one GL account number from liabilities series, which is two series, and assign this here. I am going to take, let's say 2000, some fancy number I am taking so that we'll not forget this. So which means whenever you are going to create the GL account master data, whenever we are going to create GL account master data, we need to ensure the first GL account that we will be creating is retained earnings account, which is this. Now hit enter. When you press enter, you are going to receive a warning message. System is telling you are maintaining 2000 to 2000 as a retained earnings GL account. However, this GL account is not created in your chart of account. This we are very well aware. We are about to create or we are yet to create master records. Just ignore any warning message that you get on the system by hitting enter on the keyboard. Let me press enter on the keyboard. This error message will disappear. Click on save. Enter. Okay, this is your chart of account setting. Once the chart of account settings are done, next thing you'll have to create fiscal year variant. Now we understood fiscal year variant is nothing but financial year or reporting year. According to financial year or according to reporting year, you have to look at from your company code point of view. If you're talking about financial year or reporting year, we are implementing for Samsung India Private Limited, which is operated in India. In India, any company who is operating must follow reporting cycle from April to March. Now, April to March will become your reporting cycle. This reporting cycle is called as fiscal year in SAP. You need to create one fiscal year variant which will represent your financial reporting sequence. To create a financial year or to create a fiscal year, we will be using OB29 as the transaction code. Let's go to SAP. Let me open OB29. Okay, here you have to create a fiscal year variant. In this, I am only going to show how a fiscal year is created now. The detailed explanation logic of the fiscal year variant we will be discussing maybe in some other session. Now, whenever you are creating a fiscal year variant, point number one, in most of the projects, we will not be creating a fiscal year variant. We will be using SAP standard fiscal year variants. You have to remember two SAP standard fiscal year variants. One is calendar year, the other one is non-calendar year. If you're talking about calendar year, this is a straightforward calendar starting month, calendar ending month, which is January to December. January to December is called as calendar year fiscal year. For calendar year fiscal year, you are going to use this one, K4. Okay, K4 is represented as calendar year fiscal year. Now, you might get this question in your interview. What is the SAP standard fiscal year variant for calendar year? You must be in a position to tell K4 is the SAP standard fiscal year variant for calendar year with 4 special periods and 12 normal periods. Number of normal period is nothing but 12 calendar months. Number of special periods 4 is nothing but 4 periods are used exclusively to pass your year-end adjustment entries. K4 in short is your calendar year fiscal year variant. The other one is your V3. Okay, V3 is your non-calendar year fiscal year, which means April to March. If you're talking about April to March SAP standard fiscal year variant, that is represented by V3. If you are working in any project, in most of the scenarios, you will be assigning the standard fiscal year variants to your company code instead of creating a new fiscal year variant. We will be creating a newly for the practice purpose, for understanding the logic purpose. But when you're in a project, in majority of the scenarios, you are going to use SAP standard fiscal year variants for assigning to your company code. So here I am not going to create any fiscal year variant as of now because we will be using standard fiscal year variant. So for India, you have to use calendar year. If it is calendar year, K4 if it is non-calendar year April to March, V3 which is your April to March. But before you assign your fiscal year variant to the company code, another point we have to understand. Before assigning fiscal year to the company code, we need to understand one point, which is your company code reporting requirement. If you're talking about your company code reporting requirement, we mean how we are going to circulate the reports or how we are going to perform the reports. You have normally two type of reporting. So one is your local reporting, other one is your group reporting. You have local reporting, you have group reporting. This is mandatory for every company code that you create. You must keep in your mind all your company codes that you are creating, that you are practicing, must represent one local reporting, the other one is group reporting. You need to understand what is local reporting, what is group reporting. Now, the country in which you are doing the business, country in which you are operating will represent the local reporting. Country in which you do the business will represent local reporting. Currently, we are configuring for Samsung India Private Limited, which means you are going to perform the business in India country. In India, you have to follow Indian accounting standards. You have to follow Indian accounting standards. In short, you have to follow Indian Companies Act to do the reporting. You have to follow Indian Companies Act to do the reporting. According to Indian Companies Act, you must submit your reports or you must prepare your financials from the period of April till the period of March. In short, April to March will become your reporting year. This reporting year is nothing but fiscal year in SAP. So your local reporting will become India. In India, you are going to use Indian Companies Act. In India, you are going to use Indian Companies Act. According to Indian Companies Act, you are going to use April to March. April to March is the reporting cycle that you are going to use in India. Next one, INR is the currency in which you are going to submit your reports. In short, any company who is operating in India, whether it is a local company, a big company, government company, they must submit their financials to the Indian government authorities or to the Indian Companies Act officials or Indian Income Tax Act officials. Now, any external reporting that you are reporting in India, you must follow Indian Companies Act, you must follow April to March, you must follow INR. This is your legal requirement which must be followed by each and every company who is operating or who is doing business in India. No exception to any company for this. Okay. This becomes mandatory reporting. Now, next one is your group reporting. When we talk about group reporting, you are representing your group company. When we are representing group company, while creating a company code, we assumed Samsung is the group. Under the Samsung group, you are implementing for Samsung India Private Limited. But under Samsung, there may be company codes or there may be legal entities in different other countries. Samsung may be operating in, let's say, 100 countries or 80 countries. In every country, Samsung has a legal entity. In every country, Samsung is doing their business. At the end of the month, Samsung wants to know what is their overall profit across the globe. Across all the countries, what is the overall profit that they are making, what is the overall sales, purchases, expenses and all they want to find out. To do that, they must prepare a group reporting. To prepare that, they must prepare a group reporting. For you to prepare a group reporting, you must know how many company codes are currently there in your group. You must know how many company codes you have under your group. For that purpose, initially we are creating company. For that purpose, initially you are creating a company and then each country, whatever the name that you are registering for the legal business purpose, you are creating a legal entity called company code. Now, the number of company codes that you have, each company code is assigned to your company. each company code to assign to a company. In short, let's say you have 80 company codes. You are going to assign 80 company codes to Samsung Group company. Now you know you are operating with 80 company codes. When you're talking about overall profit of your company, you are representing 80 company codes. You are representing 80 company codes. For you to represent 80 company codes, you must take data from all the 80 company codes to prepare consolidated financial statements for group reporting purpose. Did I write this? Okay, in order to find out the overall profit for all your company codes, you need to prepare group reporting. This group reporting is again mandatory for all the companies which are operated in multiple countries. If you are talking about a company which is operated in more than one country, point number one. If you are talking about a company which is operating with multiple names in same country, option number one, same country, multiple registered names or multiple legal entities, or same name with multiple countries. In short, if you have more than one legal entity or if you have more than one company code in a group, you are going to have group reporting as a mandatory requirement. If your client is having only one company code, then there is no point of group reporting. This may be an exception. But in most of the cases, any company who is using SAP is going to have minimum two company codes. They are going to have minimum two company codes. These two company codes will have to be consolidated at the end of the month to find out the common profit. To find out the common profit or to find out the overall profit, for which you are going to use a term called group reporting. This group reporting is nothing but consolidation. This group reporting is nothing but consolidation. For performing consolidation, you need to ensure that you are grouping all the countries. You are grouping all the countries. To group all countries together, you need to have a uniform, a common parameter, a common requirement. To bring this common parameter, common criteria, you are going to maintain a different set of accounts for this. To maintain the different set of accounts, here you are going to put all. So here I put India, here I'm not putting India because this is represented, this is applicable for all your countries. Next one, here you are not going to follow Indian Companies Act, here you are going to follow IFRS. For group reporting purpose, we will be following IFRS, and for group reporting, you are going to follow Jan to December. For group reporting, you are going to follow Jan to December. Group reporting is not going to be performed in INR. This is always performed in dollars. Okay, in short, these are the two reporting requirements that you must keep in your mind for all the company codes that you are going to create. Mandatory requirement, mandatory point to be remembered right from the beginning onwards before you start your configuration, before you post your transactions. Every company code that you create, make sure that you have two reporting requirement, local and group. Local report is always based on the country in which you are doing the business. If you are doing business in India, you need to follow Indian Companies Act accounting principle. You need to follow April to March, which is the financial year in India, and then INR, which is the local currency or official currency in India. In short, if you are doing business in any other country, that respective country's accounting principle, reporting cycle, currency will be used for local reporting. Your local reporting is going to get changed based on the country. From country to country, the local reporting criteria will get changed. But for the group reporting, since this is the common reporting for all your company codes, even if your company code is changed, even if the country is changed, the parameters of your group reporting will remain constant. Irrespective of the company code, irrespective of the country, you are going to use IFRS accounting rules, you are going to use Jan to December, you are going to use dollar. Right? Yesterday we assumed another point when we were talking about chart of account. For all your company codes, you are going to use same chart of account. No matter how many company codes you are going to define for your client, you will be using a single chart of account. When you are using single chart of account, you will be using group reporting with single chart of account, which is called as your operating chart of account, which means all your company codes are going to use same chart of account. Now, keeping these 2 points in your mind, always remember you have two reporting requirements. One is local reporting, the other one is group reporting. Now, the moment you remember local reporting, group reporting, you need to talk about ledgers. We need to talk about ledgers. You have two type of ledgers in SAP. One is leading ledger, other one is non-leading ledger. We have other ledgers that are not relevant now. Keep only two ledgers in your mind as of now, leading and non-leading. Now you need to map each ledger to the accounting principle. In short, for the reporting purpose, you have to map each ledger. You have two reportings, one local reporting, two is group reporting. Which reporting is used for which ledger is something that we need to decide at the beginning itself. Later on, these things we are unable to change, we are not supposed to change. Let's say for local reporting, I want to use leading ledger. You have to follow the same approach for all the company codes that you are defining. For one company code, I will use this approach. For another company code, I will change the approach. Is not possible. Whatever the approach you are deciding, whatever the approach you are taking, it's a one-time decision followed lifetime for all your company codes. Which means blindly you are not supposed to change certain settings in the system even when you are practicing. Because if you are practicing likewise, it will get registered in the same way in your mind. Later on, when you see in the real environment, things are seen in a different way. We will get into unwanted confusions, which is not required at all. Okay. Now, for local reporting, group reporting, which ledger you are going to map is something which is very important. Most commonly, you are going to remember one point. Now, we remembered one point so far regarding chart of account. One company code must have minimum one chart of account. What is the mandatory chart of account to a company code? It is your operating chart of account. Correct? For one company code, there will be minimum one chart of account, that is your operating chart of account. Are we going to use operating chart of account for a particular company code, or this operating chart of account is used commonly for all the company codes? What is the approach?
We can use for all company codes.
Right, your operating chart of account is used for all your company codes. When we are using operating chart of account for all our company codes, whenever you are using same chart of account for all your company codes, you will also have to remember same fiscal year is used for all company codes, same controlling area is used for all company codes. 3 points keep in your mind. One is chart of account, fiscal year variant, and then controlling area. Okay, let me write the below 3 points are common for all company codes. Okay, the below 3 points are common for all company code, which means if you're talking about three company codes, company code 1, company code 2, company code 3, these three company codes must have same chart of account, same fiscal year variant, same controlling area. Is this point correct? Correct? Three chart of accounts must three company codes or n number of company codes that you are dealing with must contain same chart of account, same fiscal year variant, same controlling area. Now this is a mandatory requirement that you have to keep in your mind. When this is the requirement, this is based on the reporting considering multiple reporting requirements, which means local reporting, group reporting. Whenever you're talking about local reporting, group reporting, you are indirectly talking about leading ledger, non-leading ledger. If you're talking about reporting requirement, you're talking about local reporting, group reporting. When you're talking about local reporting, group reporting, you're indirectly talking about ledgers, leading ledger, non-leading ledger, everything is interconnected. Okay. Now this is mandatory that we understood. The below 3 points are common for all company codes. When we know that this is mandatory, this is indirectly representing these two settings, reporting and ledger. You need to map ledgers in such a way that your reporting will not have any problem. Today you are configuring as you wish, but tomorrow when you are at a reporting stage, you are not supposed to find any difficulties, you are not supposed to find any challenges. In order to do that, right from the beginning, your assignment must be proper. For that to happen, you need to ensure leading ledger is used for IFRS. Leading ledger is used for IFRS, non-leading ledger is used for Indian Companies Act. Leading ledger is used for IFRS, non-leading ledger is used for Indian Companies Act. When you are talking about IFRS, which reporting is this IFRS related to, local or group? IFRS, is this related to group reporting or local reporting?
Group.
IFRS is related to group reporting. So I'll put group reporting here. Indian Companies Act, is this related to local reporting or group reporting?
Local report.
Indian Companies Act is related to local reporting. Now this mapping is what you have to understand. This is another thing that you have to remember. Okay. Or whenever you are talking about leading ledger, always remember leading ledger is always used for group reporting purpose for IFRS accounting principle. Local reporting is always used for non-leading ledger for the respective country's accounting standards. If you are talking about India, you are going to talk about Indian Companies Act. Likewise, if you talk about any country, that country's respective accounting standards or the respective accounting principle will be used. Clear? Now considering this, for your company code, how many ledgers do we need? 1 or 2?
2.
Considering this point, for our company code, we need 2 ledgers. These 2 ledgers are called as leading ledger, non-leading ledger. Leading ledger is used for group reporting or local reporting.
Group.
Leading ledger is
Group
used for
reporting.
group reporting. For group reporting, which accounting principle are we going to use?
IFRS.
For group reporting, we will be using IFRS. These are the common things that are used in every project, in every client. So you can blindly remember these points. Next one, for local reporting, which ledger are we going to use? Leading or non-leading?
Non-leading ledger.
For local reporting, we will be using non-leading ledger. For non-leading ledger, are we going to use fixed accounting principle or your accounting principle will change based on the country?
Based on the country, it will be.
For non-leading ledger, you are going to use local reporting. For local reporting, you are going to change the accounting principle based on the country. Next one is your currency. Next one is your currencies. We talked about ledgers, leading, non-leading ledger. Then we need to talk about currencies. How many reportings we have?
2.
2 reportings you have. You have local reporting, you have group reporting. Now for local reporting, you need to use one currency, which is fixed currency. For group reporting, you need to use another currency. For local reporting, whatever you are going to use is called as local currency. For local reporting, whatever the currency you are using is called as local currency. For group reporting, whatever you are going to use is called as group currency. Okay, for local reporting, you will be using local currency. For group reporting, you will be using group currency. Local currency is always country specific. Local currency is always country specific. If I am talking about India, my local currency will become INR. If I am talking about Singapore, my local currency will become Singapore dollar. If I am talking about Australia, my local currency will become Australian dollar. If I am talking about US, my local currency will become dollar. Similarly, based on the country, the local currency will change. Right? Same logic, similar to your accounting principle. The way you are changing accounting principle based on the country, in the similar way, you are going to change the currency based on the currency. On the other side, for your group reporting, this is your group currency. Group currency is fixed currency. When we talk about group currency is fixed currency, for all your countries, irrespective of the country's currency, you are going to have group currency as a fixed currency. In most of the cases, your group currency is always dollar. This is always dollar. This depends on the country. Local currency is depending on the country. When I am talking about local currency, I must represent local currency of which country? I must represent
India.
local currency of which country? If I am talking about local currency of India, then I will be writing here as INR. If I am talking about local currency as Singapore or any other country, that respective country's currency I am going to write as local currency. This is another point that we have to remember. Clear with currencies? Right? When we are defining this in the system, you are going to have the clear understanding practically, but as of now, remember these points as it is. So every company code that you are going to define must have two reporting requirements, local and group reporting. You must have two ledgers, leading ledger, non-leading ledger. You must have two currencies, local currency, group currency. Without these points, do not create any company code. Right? Without having these points in your mind, if you are creating a company code, if you are practicing SAP FICO, then the way you are creating, the way you are practicing is wrong. Later on, you have to change it. When you know that you have to change it later on, whenever you are changing, whatever you are changing is going to create a lot of confusions in your mind. So you are not going to realize what kind of a confusions you are going to get, what kind of a changes you are going to see. So this will create a big problem when you are actually in a project. Because the way you have seen, the way you have practiced the system is different. The way you are seeing the system, the way you are getting the issues in the practical environment is different if your settings are entirely different. Now these are one of the mandatory settings that you must be aware of at the beginning itself. Now when we are defining the fiscal year variant, while creating the fiscal year variant, it is straightforward because we are going to use SAP standard fiscal year variant. Now according to these 2 points, how many fiscal year variants do you want? 1 or 2?
2.
According to this, you need 2 fiscal year variant. Why do we need 2 fiscal year variant? 1 fiscal year variant to represent local reporting in India. Other fiscal year variant is to represent group reporting for corporate. Correct? One for local reporting in India, the other one for group reporting for corporate or head office purpose. Now for local reporting in India, you need a fiscal year variant called for India, you need April to March. Correct? For India, you need a fiscal year variant representing April to March. For corporate, for group reporting, you need a fiscal year variant representing January to December. Now we have seen 2 fiscal year variants in the standard SAP. One is your K4, the other one is V3. K4 is your calendar year, Jan to December. V3 is your non-calendar year, April to March. when you are assigning a fiscal year variant to company code. Let's go to fiscal year variant to company code assignment. Here we are seeing creation screen. Let me go to assignment in OB37. If I go to assignment OB37, let me go to our company code, which is SSIN. This is our company code. Currently, our company code is not assigned to any fiscal year variant. But according to our requirement, how many fiscal years do we need?
2.
2 fiscal year variants we need. Now we found 2 fiscal year variants on the system, V3 and K4.
Yes, sir.
Right? 2 fiscal years are available in the system. Now when it comes to assignment, are we able to assign 2 fiscal year variants to the company code or only 1 fiscal year variant? How many are we able to assign?
Only one fiscal year.
Right? We are able to assign only 1 fiscal year variant. Then what will happen to the other fiscal year variant? Which fiscal year variant you have to assign here? Why you are assigning a fiscal year variant here? On what basis? To understand why you are assigning a fiscal year variant on what basis, you need to remember these points. If you remember these points, you will know why you are assigning a particular fiscal year variant there. Otherwise, you will end up assigning a fiscal year variant, but you do not know why you are assigning this there. If you are assigning Jan to December, you must have a reason to convince the other person this is the reason why I have assigned Jan to December here. Or if you are assigning April to March, give a valid reason why April to March here. If you are unable to answer for these questions, the way you are assigning, the way you are practicing is again wrong. Because the small
Sir,
things that
another
you
one
are
we will assign
defining.
under account principal, right?
Which one?
Another fiscal year we will assign non-leading lecture under account principal, right?
Correct. So currently what we are looking at is at the company code level assignment. When you are assigning at the company code level, is the system talking about whether this is any kind of ledger or it is only talking about company code?
Company code.
It is only talking about company code. You don't find anywhere whether this is leading ledger or this is non-leading ledger. Another point that you have to remember here is company code level assignments will always represent leading ledger. Clear? Company code level assignments will always represent leading ledger. Now, if you are looking at this setting here, is the system talking about ledger anywhere or it is only a company code that you are able to see? It's only a company code that we are able to see here.
Yes, sir.
Right? Anything that you are assigning only at the company code level will straight away represent leading ledger. Now, according to our reporting requirement, for leading ledger, which reporting are we using? Local or group?
IFRS.
For leading ledger, we are using IFRS. IFRS is used for local reporting or for group reporting?
Group report.
IFRS is used for group reporting. For group reporting, are you following Jan to December cycle or April to March cycle?
Jan to December.
For IFRS, we are going to follow Jan to December. Now, to your company code, are we supposed to assign Jan to December or April to March?
Jan to December.
You have to assign Jan to December. If you put a question to yourself, why am I assigning Jan to December to my company code? You should have valid answer, valid convincing answer. This answer becomes valid, this answer becomes convincing only when you talk these points. If you don't talk these points, if you are telling whatever you tell, how much ever you talk, is not convincing enough to the other person. Right? To the company code, we need to assign. To the company code, we need to assign Jan to December. Jan to December is your calendar year. What is SAP standard fiscal year variant for calendar year V3 or K4?
Therefore,
K4 is your SAP standard fiscal year variant for calendar year with 4 special periods. We will be going ahead with this. Enter. Click on save. Clear with fiscal year variant along with these points? Clear, right? Or any confusion?
sir, if we have company in India only we have 5 company codes in all company codes in India only. Can we use one leading ledger or 2 leading ledger?
Leading ledger is always one. You can create multiple non-leading ledgers.
Like in India only we can create non-leading ledger.
You can create because you do not
Only
know
one
in
person can
future.
get.
Yeah, in future you may expand your business into other countries. Possible or not?
Yes, sir.
Right? So when you're talking about from business point of view, you should always think from long-term point of view. That you'll have to bring an accounting concept called going concern concept, that you'll have to think long-term and then do all the analysis or all your accounting. Today you may be operating only in India. What if maybe after an year or after 2 years you want to expand your business into some other country? At that time you will have to introduce group reporting. Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Right? At that stage, if you are adding a non-leading ledger, if you are introducing a group reporting after 2 years, when you create the non-leading ledger after 2 years, whatever the data that is posted after 2 years, only that data will reflect in the non-leading ledger. But what about your historical data? So your report is not going to pick all the transactions from the historical data, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now this is going to create a problem for you. You'll have to, invest money again to bring all the historical data into a ledger to ensure that your group reporting is working fine. Now this is a challenge that you are able to see.
Yes, sir.
Right? All these kind of things are discussed with your client when you are implementing a system. If they say no, we don't want like this, you are going to tell, if you don't want today, it is fine, but tomorrow when you want this, these are the challenges that you are going to face. Because later on, if you don't tell all these points, tomorrow your client is going to tell, but nobody told us these are the complications that we will be having in future. But that is fact, we did not tell our client that if you go ahead like this, these are the challenges that you will get. Telling from your side is your responsibility. Once you explain the benefits and the demerits on a particular requirement, on a particular scenario, if your client is still okay to go ahead without this, then it is their call. You cannot force them, you can only recommend. But you need to ensure that you have recommended the points, but your client declined. That is fine. It is their call. But from our side, we need to ensure we have proposed, we have given an alert, heads up, that these are the implications that you are going to receive. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Alright. So these points is what mandatory for us to remember before you create your fiscal year variant. And once we assign the fiscal year variant, next thing is to create your posting period variant. But this posting period variant we will create in the next session. Now the reason why we discussed all these points now is, in the asset accounting configuration that we are doing, all these points are going to be refresh points for your asset accounting config. We need to recall all these points: reporting, leading ledger, non-leading ledger, accounting principles for the asset accounting purpose. Now the points that you have understood today is going to help you out in understanding asset accounting configuration in S4HANA system. Clear it? Any doubts so far? Any questions?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
Anil.
Why we are assigning that physical year and K4 here in company code local? Why we
Why we
should
are
not assign? Yeah.
why we should not create a new one?
Why we should not assign the physical year variant V3? We are assigning K4 here. Why?
Correct. So you mean to say why we are assigning Jan to December instead of April to March?
Yeah.
Is that what your question?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. That is because we are a global company. We are a global company operating in multiple countries. Now, when you are a global company operating in multiple countries, the point number one that you have to remember here is this one. If you are a global company operating in multiple countries, you must ensure same chart of account, same fiscal year variant, same controlling area is used for all your company codes. Is this point clear?
Okay. As per local reporting purpose, the dates are as per V3. It is correct. Mm, that is
Correct. Right. Now, first, let me know if you are clear with this point, then I'll come to your point. This point, is this clear? The highlighted one? Same chart of account, same fiscal year, same controlling area for all the company codes.
yeah.
Now, another point next below, company code level assignment will always represent which ledger?
Leading ledger.
Company code level assignment will always represent leading ledger. Now come back to this point. For our company code, we have two reporting requirements. One is local reporting in India, other one is group reporting for corporate. Let me say corporate.
Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah.
One is your local reporting in India, the other one is group reporting for corporate purpose, for your corporate office, for your head office. Now for local reporting, for group reporting, whenever you have two type of reporting requirements, you are going to represent straight away the ledgers. If you're talking about local reporting in India, group reporting for corporate. Now clear with these 2 points alone,
Yes.
right? When you're talking about local reporting in India you have to follow Indian Companies Act, correct? In India, you have to follow April to March reporting requirement, reporting cycle.
Yeah.
Now in India, you have to prepare all your financials in INR.
Yes.
This is legal requirement for every organization which is operating in India. On the other side, you have group reporting. This group reporting is not country specific. This group reporting is your corporate specific. In short, your head office, your group company specific. Your head office or your corporate office, your group office is talking about. For group reporting, you must follow IFRS accounting principle. So you don't follow Indian Companies Act. When you're submitting reports to me, you submit the reporting according to IFRS guidelines, according to IFRS requirement. According to IFRS, you are going to follow Jan to December reporting cycle. Clear?
Then what is the difference between the V3 and K4, sir?
Yeah, I'm
For
coming to
V,
that point.
okay.
Okay. So according to IFRS, you are going to use Jan to December, and according to IFRS, you are going to submit all the reports in dollars. Now, whenever you have two type of reporting requirements, let's say local reporting and group reporting, you know this, these two reports are used for two different purposes. Your target audience for local reporting is different. Your target audience for group reporting is different. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Now, when you're submitting these two for
Yes,
two
sir.
different type of people, you cannot maintain single record. You cannot maintain single record and you cannot submit same record to two different people. One record can be shown only in one way, correct? If I have one transaction, I cannot show same transaction in two different ways to two different people. So if I have to show single transaction to two different people in two different ways, I have to represent one transaction in two different ways. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
To reflect single transaction in two different ways, you have to follow ledger concept. So this ledger concept talks about leading and non-leading ledger, which means whenever you are performing any transaction, according to business, it's the same transaction, correct? No matter whether you are using IFRS accounting or Indian Companies Act accounting, according to business, it's a single transaction. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
According to business, it's a single transaction. Let's assume that you purchased or you paid salaries. Let's assume you paid salaries for the month of May 2023 to the staff. Now, you are having two reporting requirements does not mean you paid salaries two times. If I have IFRS, if I have Indian Companies Act, am I going to pay salaries separately according to IFRS? Am I going to pay salaries separately according to Indian Companies Act? Or am I going to pay salaries only one time?
Only one time.
Only one time.
Salaries I am going to pay only one time. Am I going to record salaries two times or one time? How many entries I will write for salaries? Two entries or one entry?
One entry.
Two entries.
Single entry.
I am going to write only one entry. If I am paying salary one time, I have to write entry one time. If I write entry two times, that means I am showing my expense two times. If I paid salary 5 lakh, if I write accounting entry two times, my salaries will reflect 10 lakhs. But actually we paid only 5 lakh salary, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now in which month you paid salaries? May 2023. In which month you paid salaries? Current month is what? May 2023. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you paid salaries for May 2023, when you are representing this May 2023 salaries, let's say, let me put this here. Let's talk about this one. Salary for May 2023 is your, let's say, 5 lakh INR. Because your staff is working in India, you have to pay salaries in INR. Am I correct? Is my point correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because we are dealing with Indian Company Code. In Indian Company Code, your staff is working in India. For the staff who is working in India, you must pay salary in INR. You paid this in INR 5 lakh rupees. Now you have two reporting requirements. One is local reporting, other one is group reporting. For local reporting, you are going to use Indian Companies Act. For group reporting, you are going to use IFRS. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now this is one book, this is another book. Let's say for same transaction, you are maintaining two notebooks. This is book number 1, this is book number 2. Now your Companies Act is going to look at only this book. When you're talking about Companies Act, in every company you are going to have auditing. At the end of every year, external auditors, which means chartered accountants, will come review your financial books. They will approve, sign off. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
In every company, if you are operating in India, there is something called auditing. We call it as auditor. These auditors will come and verify your accounts. This everybody is aware.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, when they come, they are going to look at your local reports. They are going to look at your local reports and they are going to verify whether everything that you have accounted as per Indian Companies Act or not. Whatever the Indian law says, according to Indian accounting law, your accounting must be performed. For that, you are going to show this book. this yellow book. In this, for this salary, you have to write an accounting entry. Salary debit, let's say bank credit. Amount you are going to show 5 lakh here and then 5 lakh here. Correct?
Yes.
This is your INR. If you show records in dollar, if you show records in your dollar, is your auditor okay with it or he will not be okay with it? If you show the records in dollars, is your auditor okay with this or he is not okay with this?
No,
Not
sir.
okay.
Not okay.
He will not be okay because in India you must submit your reports in INR strictly. You are free to do transaction in any currency, but when you report, you convert that transaction currency into INR and then submit the report. Perform currency in any transaction. Sorry, perform transaction in any currency, but report the transaction in local currency. In short, INR must be given. Now, if this salary is paid in May 2023, in India, what is the reporting cycle?
April to March.
April to March.
In India, this is your April to March. In India, April to March. According to April to March, this transaction, if this is posted on May 2023, will be represented in which month of which year? According to April to March, this transaction must be reported in which month of which year?
May month 20.
Second period and 2023.
Alright. So if you talk about from the transaction point of view, we are talking about May 2023 because that is the actual transaction date. This actual transaction will be converted according to your local reporting perspective. According to local reporting perspective, you have to submit reports from April to March. From April to March. Now, according to April to March, you have to start your month counting from April. April will be your first month, March will be last month. April will be first month, March will be last month. So, if you start counting from April, May will become on what sequence? 1, 2 till 12. Which sequence May takes?
Second. 2.
May will take 2. This is your 2 of which year?
2020.
2023. Now this 2 is called as a month. You call 2 as a month or as a period. This is called as period. This 2023 is called as what?
Year. It's a
This
fiscal.
2023 is called as fiscal year. This is called as fiscal year.
Fiscal.
Now same transaction you are going to update in the green book. Green book is nothing but your IFRS. In green book, when you are updating, this is used for group reporting. For group reporting, your corporate is not going to look at INR values. Your corporate does not require any transaction to be represented in INR value. Why your corporate does not require INR value?
We are using USD.
Point number 1, for corporate reporting, you are using dollar. Correct?
Yeah.
Another point is your group reporting or your corporate reporting is common for all your company codes. Correct?
Yes.
Your group reporting, your corporate reporting, you are going to use it for consolidation purpose. Group reporting is nothing but consolidation. Consolidation is nothing but you are going to combine all the salaries of all your company codes. If you are operating, let's say, in 15 countries, now you are paying salaries in 15 countries. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? If you are operating in 15 countries, you have to pay salaries at the end of every month, irrespective of the country that you are operating in. This is normal labor law. Everybody will have to pay salary at the end of the month for the staff. Let's say you paid salaries in 15 countries in 15 different currencies. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I want to know how much salaries I have paid in India, straight, if I want,
The
sorry,
for IFRS, it is for January to December, using April to March, sir.
Jan to
It is Jan.
December.
Yeah, it is USD. Yes.
Yes,
Then for main month salary, it takes period fifth, sir.
correct. That we are about to write now. Okay. Now, if I want to know how much salaries I have paid in India, straight away I'll come to my local reporting or local book of India. I can check what is the salary paid in March, sorry, May. Straight away I can find out what is the salary of a particular company code. Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
I can straight away come to local reporting of that particular company code. I can check the balance of salaries. Straight away I'll come to know. But what if I want to know what is the overall salaries that I paid in May month if I am operating in 15 countries? If I am operating in
We'll go
15
for
countries, I want to know total salaries paid for May 2023. For which what I need to do? I need to find out 15 salary numbers. Salary in India, salary in Bangladesh, salary in Sri Lanka, salary in Dubai, salary in Singapore, salary in some other country. Likewise, in 15 countries, I need to write salary separately. But if I write 15 salary numbers, can I total it straight away? No, right? In India, I am able to see salary of INR. In Singapore, I am able to see salary in Singapore dollar. In some other country, I am able to see salary in another currency. With this 15 country salary figures, can I directly come to know what is my overall salary expense? Yes, no? No, right?
Yes, sir.
no,
If
sir.
I look at 15 countries individual salary amount, I will not know because in every country I am able to see the amount in their local currency. Correct? If you look at salaries in India, you are going to look at salary in Indian accounting standards, which is 5 lakh. But unless you have this group reporting concept, it is not possible for you to consolidate. Now, is this a valid requirement? If you are the owner of this company, you are operating in 15 countries. You are the owner of this Samsung, you are operating in 15 countries. Do you want to know what is your overall salary paid for this month across all the companies or not? Is this the valid requirement or not?
Yes, sir. It's a valid
Yes, no?
requirement.
Valid.
Or every time you are going to take a calculator in your hand and then you will keep all the exchange rates on a paper, you are going to convert. Okay, India, you tell me what is your salary. Singapore, you tell me. Likewise, you list out all the 15 numbers, you convert your total, or just like that, by one click you want to know total salaries in one button. You want to know all the salaries just by one click,
Awesome.
right? If it is not feasible, then you are going to say, why I have to total manually, why system cannot give me the number directly, right? Because this is a valid requirement which is common in every organization, in every client. To meet these kind of requirements, we will be going ahead with group reporting. For group reporting, you have to follow common accounting principle across all the countries, because the intention of group reporting is only to consolidate the number. When we talk about consolidate the number, you have to take common accounting approach. In India, the accounting may be different because Companies Act you are following. Let's say in Bangladesh you may be using Bangladesh accounting. In Singapore you are using Singapore accounting. There may be minor changes from country to country. Am I correct? In the
Yes,
financial
sir.
treatment from country to country, there will be minor changes. So to eliminate these changes, to bring the common figure, you need to follow the common accounting standard, which is most probably IFRS. Earlier we used to use GAAP, US GAAP. But now nobody uses GAAP, everybody will use IFRS. According to IFRS, what you are going to do, you are going to record same transaction. But according to IFRS, this will be Jan to December. This will be Jan to December. According to IFRS, you are going to report everything in dollars. You are going to report everything in dollars. Accounting entry will remain same. You are going to debit salary, you are going to credit bank. But here instead of writing 5 lakh, you are going to write 5 lakh equivalent exchange rate. Let's say I'll take this 5 lakh divided by 80 rupees or 78 rupees. Okay, I'll put the same 6410.3. Clear? I put these two as in number figure. Clear, right? Now this one will be represented in a different way. Here also you'll have period. Here also you will have fiscal year. Now this one for corporate will be represented as which month, which period?
5.
Period 5 of which year?
2020.
2023.
Now are these two same or are these two different?
Different, sir. It
From
is
Same, sir.
local. It is
business,
Year is
group. It is
from the transaction point of view, if you see, is it single transaction or two transactions?
single transactions.
Single transaction. But from reporting side, if you see, you are representing this same transaction in two different ways.
Yeah.
Right? To the local officials in India, you are telling this expense is incurred in period number 2, because in accounting you are not going to talk about month. Your accounting is always represented by period. In accounting you always call it as a period. In general you call it as a month. Now according to local officials in India, you are going to tell this amount is incurred in period number 2 of year 2023. But the same amount to your corporate, you are telling this amount is incurred in period number 5 of year 2023. If you see this green, if you see this yellow, there is a difference or not?
Yes, sir.
There is a difference. Now this is used
Yes.
for one reporting purpose. This is used for another reporting purpose. But these two are posted from the same transaction. And when you are posting this entry in the system, you are going to write accounting entry only one time. When you write single accounting entry, system is going to update two records automatically. In this record, data will come in this format by default. In this book, data will come in this format by default. So these two are called as ledgers. One you will call it as, for local reporting, it is always non-leading ledger. For group reporting, it is always leading ledger. Clear? You call this as non-leading ledger. We will call this as leading ledger. So once you post the entries, you are going to understand these things conceptually. But initially there may be a little confusion, but you need to have that confusion to come to a conclusion. If you don't have the confusion, it is not possible for you to get the clarity. Clear?
Okay, sir.
But any doubt on this still?
Sir, in this, it is clear, sir, but when you're posting with January to December, it a bit of confusion. So we are taking the local currency, right? In local currency, we will use V3. Then, but you are using K4, sir. Why?
When you are posting the entry, you are not going to talk about V3, K4 and all, because these are all part of your initial configuration that you are going to define. Okay, when you are posting the entry, what system is going to look at? System is only going to look at this salary and date of the entry, amount of the entry. According to this, system is going to update this green table automatically, this yellow table automatically. Now on top, if you come here, this is another setting, this is another point that we earlier discussed. This is something that you are going to freeze at the beginning of your company code configuration based on the way you are freezing. Now if I want local reporting, if I want leading ledger for IFRS, if I want non-leading ledger for Indian Companies Act, my table will update like this. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And if I change my requirement, let's say if I want leading ledger for Indian Companies Act, if I want non-leading ledger for IFRS, system is going to update this ulta. Yellow will become green, green will become yellow.
Yes,
Clear?
sir. Yes, sir.
It depends on the way you are configuring your system. Both are possible. This way is possible, swapping is also possible, but the swapping or this way is dependent on your configuration. Your configuration is dependent on your requirement. So if you are not able to understand the requirement, there is no point of defining all the settings. There is no point of leading, non-leading ledger, configuring multiple company codes is of no use if you are not understanding the concept. Tomorrow in your interviews, people are going to ask you questions like this. They will simply give you a scenario. They will tell if you are working for a client who is operating in India and Singapore, and they are going to submit the reports for local officials and for the corporate. How are you going to meet the local reporting and then group reporting requirement? No other option. You have to tell all these points that are listed on your Excel sheet now. No exception. You must talk with clear examples with full clarity. If you give an impression that you are confused here, the whole idea of getting your feedback is negative, because they feel that you are not good at the basic fundamentals, how the basic setup is done for a particular company code. Because this is the initial basic fundamental before you start your company code config or before you start your postings. Later on, if you try to bring these points, later on, if you try to understand these points, by this time you would have already posted some entries in your company code. You would have already configured a company code, but your company code configuration, your entry posting is carried out in a different way, not in this approach, in another approach. Now from that approach to switching back to this approach will create a lot of confusions to anybody. It is not so easy to come to this point to understand, because you will not know why you did like this before. Now you will not understand why you are asking me to do like this now. Whether your previous practice is correct or this practice is correct, you will get into a confusion state. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now
Yes, sir.
these kind of situations we have to eliminate from the beginning itself, so that right from the beginning whatever you are feeding in your mind must be accurate, must be correct. Now these points
Okay, sir.
whatever we are listing here will have a direct impact on your asset accounting configuration in S4HANA system. So that is the reason we are discussing in detail this once again. Your asset accounting configuration will have a straight dependency on this. If this is not clear, we will not be able to understand asset accounting baseline configuration in S4HANA system. Clear? This reporting requirements, leading, non-leading ledger, fiscal years,
Yes.
and how entry is represented in leading, non-leading. Any doubt in this?
Sir,
Yes,
sir, from all this discussion, can we draw that conclusion that the information which we want to maintain constant among all the different geographical areas, we put up in that leading ledger?
correct. You're right.
Okay.
Now, this is because now you know the point that same chart of account is used for all your company codes. Everybody is aware of this point, right?
Yes, sir.
Everybody is aware same controlling area is used for all company codes. How many of you know these 2 points?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Most of you is aware that same chart of account is used for all the company codes. Same controlling area is used for all the company codes. You don't know
No,
why,
sir.
but everybody is aware of these two statements.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? If you want to know
Yes.
why, this is the answer. Whatever you have seen on the Excel sheet till now is the answer why you are using same chart of account for all your company codes, why you are using same controlling area for all your company codes is for this reporting requirement. If this is not requirement, you can use any chart of account for any company code. If you have 15 company codes, no problem,
Same.
you create 15 chart of accounts, you create 15 controlling areas, doesn't make any difference. You are creating same chart of account using for 15 company codes, you are creating same controlling area assigning for 15 company codes just because of this simple requirement. This is the requirement why you are using same chart of account, same fiscal year and same controlling area. These 3 points we have listed here already.
Yes, sir.
Now why you have to use this? To achieve this. If this is not your target, ignore this straight away. Create as many different chart of accounts for every company code, create a different fiscal year for every company code, create a different controlling area for different company code. Nothing is going to stop you from anywhere because this is not your target. But by chance, if this is your target, if this is your target, you did not follow this approach, it is not possible. It is not possible. No other option. You have to reverse all the entries that you posted, change your configuration, repost all the entries. Is that easy task or a painful task?
Painful task.
It's a painful task. Right? First of all, that is not recommended at all. And this is where your consulting knowledge, this is where your understanding will come into picture. Because you're doing things ulta, which means you have not understood the requirement. You have done everything correct, but you have not understood the requirement. Without understanding the requirement, whatever you do may be correct, may not be correct. Majority of the chances which we do without understanding the requirement will go wrong. That is why we have written some point yesterday, data flow in SAP FICO consulting. Right, this is what we have listed yesterday. What is the flow we have written? Business requirement, configuration, master data, transaction data, reporting. Now, whatever you have seen here, this is called as a report. Correct?
Yes, sir.
This is called as a report. Report comes at the last. Am I correct? This is called as a report. Report comes at the last or at the end. If my reporting is wrong, if I'm telling, no, this is not what I wanted. As a client, I'm telling, no, this is not what I am expecting for. My expectation is different. Then you'll have to go back. When you go back, you will have to look at from bottom to top. If my report is wrong, first I need to check whether my transaction posted is correct or not. I have seen the transaction is posted correctly. Then I am going to look at if master data is created correctly or not. Then I have seen master data is also created correctly. Then I will check my configuration. My configuration is also correct. Then I'll have to check my requirement. Now if you see, there is a question mark. If you see, there is a question mark. What is your requirement? If you do not know, if you are silent, then gone. It is your problem. This is your mistake. You have to accept and then keep quiet. You have no right to talk now because you do not know what is the requirement. Still, you did configuration, you did master data, you did transaction, you did report. Now you are unable to explain why this is happening because you do not know what is the requirement. If you do not know what is the requirement, you are not supposed to create config, you are not supposed to create masters, you are not supposed to create a transaction, you are not supposed to pull the report. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
You have to go in the same sequence, in the same order. You have to think from the same data flow point of view. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. Because if you are starting from configuration, you are blindly doing things. You are configuring why. You should put questions to yourself, why am I doing this? Now we understood when we are assigning this fiscal year variant to company code. We assume that you have two reporting requirements. When you are creating, if you don't know that there will be two reporting requirements, there is no point of creating baseline config. You're not practicing for the time pass purpose, correct? Are we practicing for time pass?
No, sir.
Are you going to practice this once again dedicatedly by sitting? No, right? So first time when you're creating, whatever you understand, whatever you listen to it will go and sit in your mind. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
You listen to something for the first time, you listen to another thing for the second time, you will get confused. First time you told something, next time you're telling something else. I created first company code by assigning V3 fiscal year. Now you are creating another company code by assigning K4 fiscal year. Why? I cannot say we already used V3, this time we will try something else, so we will use K4. Is that a valid justification?
No.
I can pass this statement, I can convince you in the session. We already used V3, so let us try creating another company code with a different requirement. But since you do not know why this is exactly used in a project, you will say okay. But practically that is not the thing that you are supposed to know. Right? So this has a big connection. This has a different thing to be understood. Now this understanding, whatever you have done now, will have a straight impact on your asset accounting on S4HANA system. If these points are not clear, asset accounting configuration in S4HANA will not be clear. If these points are not clear, asset accounting in S4HANA will not be clear. Straightforward. Straight away you can take a paper, write down, you are not going to understand asset accounting in S4HANA. I'm not talking about you are not going to do configuration, I'm talking about you are not going to understand. Understanding is different, configuring is different, correct?
Yes, sir.
If you want to configure, you only need material, you only need configuration steps, screenshot or a YouTube video. But if you want to understand, none of this is required. You need a proper requirement, a proper scenario, a proper logic. So if you are clear with this, asset accounting in your S4HANA is very easy. If not, straight away it is not easy to understand. Very clear for anybody, including me. If I don't know these points, it's not possible for me to understand. But I'll be able to configure the system by looking at, because I am not going to configure on my own, you are not going to configure on your own. You will be referring some document or I'll be referring some document, correct? If you want to learn or if I want to learn. Right, T codes and all you will be learning by looking at a document. I will also be learning by looking at a document. But why we are doing, what will be the business requirement, what will be the impact is what we have to understand. For that, no other option, you have to know these points. These are all initial points that are created at the beginning of your company code. Your complete SAP FICO configuration topic is dependent on these areas. If these are wrong, everything is wrong. Straight away, everything is wrong. You understood, you took a wrong way. No matter how far you travel, you are able to see everything on left and right, front, back, but nothing is related to you. You're not going to reach your destination because you're on the wrong way. Any questions on this?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. Sir,
Yes.
actually, in that K4 is assigning here for the company code locally, and at the same time in leading ledger and non-leading ledger creation time, we are assigning the posting period and fiscal year variant assignments for the. There is one scenario is there. System how to understand the where the mm, mapping for this fiscal year variant and posting period variant based on that here or
Whenever
there.
you're whenever you're posting any transaction, your transaction is always represented by leading ledger.
Okay.
Okay, let's say if you go to this is where you're going to post the entries, correct?
Yeah.
This is where you're going to post the entries. Here, let's say you're going to put your company code SSIN. Here you're going to put your company code. Next one, your transaction date, you're going to type here, posting date.
Yeah.
Now on this screen, do you find anywhere a field called ledger, leading ledger or non-leading ledger?
No.
No, right? When you are posting,
No.
if there is no ledger field, this is represented by leading ledger. Which ledger?
Leading ledger.
Leading ledger. So system is going to take this posting date and it will look at leading ledger. Let's say for leading ledger, you are using IFRS. For leading ledger,
Yeah.
you are using IFRS. For IFRS, which means for leading ledger. Leading ledger is nothing but your company code assignment. This one. Leading
Yeah.
ledger is nothing but company code assignment for company code on this screen, not this. This is your company code level fiscal year assignment, correct?
Yeah.
So for your company code, fiscal year assignment is calendar year. According to calendar year, this date is part of period number 5,
Yeah.
correct? Now at the time of posting the entry, system is going to copy the entry into non-leading ledger also. System is going to copy the entry into non-leading ledger. In non-leading ledger, the same date will become period number 2.
Yeah.
In the non-leading ledger, same entry will become period number 2. Clear?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is how system is going to identify. It will check the company code. For this company code, whatever the fiscal year variant is assigned, that is represented by leading ledger. While passing the entry, we don't put ledger. So it is straight away connected to leading ledger. From the leading ledger, it will copy the data to non-leading ledger. At that time, it is going to check what non-leading ledger you have assigned to your company code. At that non-leading ledger level, you are going to assign another fiscal year, which is your V3, April to March. According to April to March, this same entry will be passed on to period number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Okay,
are
and when
assigning
you
that in a in
non-leading ledger,
pins underscore ledger. We are assigning a
correct,
non-leading ledger and fiscal ledger.
right.
Sir, one. Hello.
And when you are generating any report, if you want to look at any report, when you come to any screen, it will clearly ask you to select the ledger, whether you want data from leading ledger or non-leading ledger. Same thing that we have seen in your to get the data from which ledger, from local reporting or from group reporting. Same thing in your SAP system is going to ask. By default, you are going to check the data in leading ledger, which is your according to IFRS. So that is why this is here. If you want data from local reporting, you have to click on choose ledger and then change the ledger here from leading ledger to non-leading ledger. In short, from local report to group report. Similarly, when you generate any report, trial balance, P&L, balance sheet, everywhere it is asking you to select from which report you want the data, from leading or from non-leading.
First, the system will take from the leading ledger, and another furtherly, it will convert to the
After that, it
non-leading.
will correct. You're right.
1 second, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Sir, actually,
Yes.
system will convert it to non-leading to leading.
No, leading to non-leading, because for every company code, leading ledger is mandatory. Leading ledger is SAP predefined. We will not be able to create leading ledger. The moment you create a company code, by default, leading ledger is assigned to your company code. Clear? The moment
Sir,
a company code is created,
the last time created a non-leading ledger time, you are assigning K4, sir. Actually, in the small physical year variant time, you are assigning B3.
in the previous company code,
Yes, yes, sir.
no. Let me open. That we did it in 1909. Let me open that.
That time I verified the AC doc also. 2 records are stored in that table also.
Okay, let us verify. For DEIN company code, you mean? This is your leading ledger. Let me go to company codes. This was our company code, DEIN. Here we have used for leading ledger Jan to December. Okay. And we had a non-leading ledger.
Yes.
Ledger, just go back. What was our non-leading ledger? D1, right?
Yes, sir. D1.
D1. If I go to company code settings, in this D1 we have used April to March. Okay. Initially you were right, somebody changed the standard settings. Somebody put this ulta in the standard settings, somebody changed in our server, so we again rechanged them. Okay.
So one more, sir. Open my JV, sir, F-02, sir. My company not executed. Every time is asking cost element like that. In Sunday, I did the total execution up to profit center, cost center. Again, I passed the entry, same errors. One more company I create.
What's your company code?
PCIL. Just pass the general entry, sir.
Just a minute. Company code is PC.
No, PCIL. Not PC, sir. TC.
TC. Okay.
Just salaries to bank account, one entry.
But why you created GL account with 6 digits? Strictly create with 8 digits, not with 6. This is fine, but for the next company code, don't use 6 digits.
Okay. Two more
Okay.
companies I created. The Sunday I did this total work, sir. Again, the same problem.
Yeah, fine. That is because if you are getting that error, what you do is, first thing, go to type description, look at the GL account type. Okay, your GL account type is primary or non-operating. This is your non-operating, correct?
Yes, yes.
For non-operating, cost element is not required. If your cost element is not required, if you are still getting the cost center or cost object error, you have to go to create bank interest tab. Go to create bank interest. What is the field status group?
G00.
G001. Now you just do a double click on the same field here. Here you just do a double click. I'm doing a double click. It will open this field status group. Go to additional account assignment. If you go here, check if your cost center or any other field is required entry. Currently nothing is required entry. If you find anything as required entry here, then that is creating the problem. Currently it is not required, so your error is not coming from here. Now first let me log out of this screen. F-02. Current period is open.
Yes, sir.
For this account, enter. Thousand. Put this.
Profit center, cost center also goes.
TCIN01.
Yes, sir. Same. TCIN01. Ah, yes. 1 second search.
Okay. Now I am going to put a credit. Credit to the, let's say, bank account. One sec, my system is a little slow. 210001. Two one triple zero one. Same amount, same profit center, some text. Go to document on the top, click on simulate. Go to document again, click on simulate general ledger. Now click on expert mode. There are no errors, it will get posted.
So if I take the cost center, sir, that time it will come, sir.
No, you're not supposed to take cost center for every account. Cost center is required only for the GL accounts which are created with
Sir, rent and expenses.
one sec, I'll tell you. Okay. Cost center is required only for the GL accounts which are created with the type description as operating expenses. Sorry, primary cost.
Primary cost.
Okay, you have not created this as a primary cost. This is non-operating. For non-operating, if you go to control data, there is nothing called controlling indicators. Do you find any controlling information here? Cost element category?
No, sir.
No, if there is no cost element category, this GL account is not a cost element. If GL account is not a cost element, you cannot assign cost center to a P&L account. So if you are assigning cost center, that is what the problem. To assign the cost center, your GL account must be created as a cost element. If not, assign only profit center.
Okay, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other doubts? Anyone? Any questions?
May I ask
This total settings within 2 hours I completed, sir. Actually, starting to here. 2 hours it
Yes.
takes time.
You should actually take 90 minutes. Target 1.5 hour maximum, not more than that. With all the parameters, within 1.5 hour, you have to complete the settings, post one document. But you should not get these kind of confusions. Like cost center, you are assigning to a P&L account which is not a cost element. So these kind of confusions you have to eliminate, you have to remove. But these things are possible only when you get error. When you get the error, you will be able to clarify where you are thinking wrong and what you need to rectify.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? Yeah. All right
sir?
then. So
Hello.
yes.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
go
one
ahead.
One
doubt.
second. Sir,
In
sir,
my
I created a sir.
Yes, go ahead.
So I have created a GL as a cost element with category revenue, and it is asking the cost center. Means my cost category is revenue, but
What is your
the
company
while
code?
costing PIN,
What is it?
PEIN, P for parrot, PEIN,
From which category?
sales, domestic sales.
Sales. Huh. Okay, you have given revenues here. It's asking you to input cost center.
Yes, yes, sir. I have created another GL so that I thought maybe a issue in the GL. So I created the same GL with the same configurations, but still getting the same error.
This is what the error you are getting.
Yes.
Okay, when you get these errors, first thing that you do is go to your this one GL account. Here your cost element category 11 revenues, which is correct. Go to
Yes.
create bank interest.
Here it is not required, sir. Means I've changed that field status.
You've changed? Okay, let's check.
Yeah.
G001, double click on this.
Yes.
Additional account assignments. Okay, cost center, this is not mandatory. This is perfect.
Yes, sir.
Now double click on this. Error message. Enter a true account assignment object with revenue. You made an account, a revenue element in controlling area PEGR to a cost center or a profit center. It's telling cost and profit center this revenue, real revenue. In principle, this to avoid posting to reconciliation object. General, and it is telling to message control. If you do not this, it is giving an error message KI 166. But before making this error message control, let's go to posting key, which is OB41. What is the posting key we are using? 50.
Yeah.
So you will have field status at posting key level also.
Okay.
Okay, for that, not sure my system is getting hanged. Okay. Go to OB41. In OB41, pick the posting key that we are trying to use now. Posting key is 50.
Yes, sir.
Double click on 50. Now you will find field status here. Click on field status. Here click on additional account assignment. Now here cost center, it is not mandatory. Fine. Come back. This is not creating the problem. Now the problem is the message control. If you open that message once again, did I close this? Okay. Let me double click on this message. It is giving message class KI, message number 166. You are able to see the change message control. Click on this hyperlink. This is taking you to change message control, which is OBA5. Open this. Application area, what it was giving? KI. Correct? Application area KI. What is the message number? 166. Come here. Application area, you put KI. KI. Enter. Add a new entry. Message number was 166. Put 166. Press enter. Now message number, you change that error message to warning. Here also warning. And click on save. Save this. Now let us
Sir,
try to
how
pass
we?
the same entry.
Yes, sir.
Close this message. Have to come out of this. F-02 again. Posting key 50. Same account number. Some amount. Put profit center. Some text. Just hit enter. Now it is not going to give that error.
Got it,
Okay,
sir.
you will be
But
able to.
how we come to know that this error should be converted into warning? Is this our configuration error or it is an actual error? Because we can't
This
change
is
the
the actual
error
error.
into.
This is the actual one. Normally, in the system, by default, these error messages are disabled. Okay, in case if this error message is appearing, from the message control, you will be making this error message as warning message, or you will be removing this error message. This is the standard error message, not related to your configuration problem. This is the standard system program related issue.
So means every time in
No, no, no,
real
it's a
time
one-time setting.
also.
These things will not come in the real time.
Okay.
Okay,
Means in
now the
real time
message.
if some in real time if something kind this if something happens like this, so how we have to check that this is actual error or system error? Means, is there any case
Any
in real
message that
time?
you are
Means
giving, yeah, any message that you are getting, let me put this one again. You are getting like this, you need to double click on this message. Then you have to look at the message number. If the message number is starting from A to Y, apart from Z, which is the standard system error message or standard system message. This is starting from K, correct?
yes, sir.
So anything starting from any alphabet apart from Z is a standard system message, either error or warning. For that, system is going to give you the detailed information. It is clearly telling, if you don't want this, you can deactivate this message number under application area KI 166. So this is clearly instructed by the message itself by SAP. If you don't want this message, if you don't want this restriction or control, you can deactivate this by removing this message control under KI 166.
Okay, sir.
Clear?
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, all right then. So we'll connect tomorrow morning at the same time. Let me stop this recording.